Yo everybody, welcome to my channel. This story about what's Naruto without Kurama. Let's start.
Naruto stared at the tan wall of the orphanage. He was in the communal room right now, staring at the wall. He had been doing that more often lately, and the caretakers noticed. What do you think is wrong with him? Does he need a doctor? One said. The other responded, I'm not sure. Only 5 years old and he stares at walls all day, but maybe it'll pass. Bear in mind he's never had parents before. Of course, the only flaw in their analysis was that Naruto had great blood in him. Good enough that he was doing what many aspiring ninja would learn only years later. The orphanage was in the residential district of Konoha, and its young residents were required to stay in that district. However, in a place like Konoha there were still ninja everywhere. Wherever Naruto looked, he saw people he could identify as ninja, all wearing the same leaf headband. He did not know much about ninja education in the orphanage was centered more about civilian life and how to operate independently. The orphanage could only support so many kids at once. Some kids had to move out eventually. However, Naruto had learned a couple of things at least. For one thing, ninjas of different ranks wore different stuff. The young, weak ones wore only a headband, and the older, stronger ones wore a vest. The rarest ones he saw, some that were many years older than him and far stronger, wore vests slightly different than the ones weaker. He had learned their names: Genin, Chunin, and Junin respectively. Naruto wasn't sure how he could tell that some people were stronger than others. Oh, sure, he could list several things. They could teleport around, ran across the rooftop more quickly, walked more adroitly, were more on guard, but there was one thing he could not describe, but that was unique to only the ninja he saw. And that was what doing right now. He was manipulating his chakra around him. Of course, he didn't know what it was called, but he felt within him what he felt in those ninja, and not in anyone else in the orphanage. It was a beautiful thing, powerful, yet so calming. At his will, it moved anywhere on his body. The feet were tougher than the hands, but as he grew more used to it, he found himself able to make it dance his body. With this realization, he became aware that the teleporting the ninja were doing was rooted in this force. He saw it flare as they disappeared, and dissipate as they reap. One of the most miraculous things about this force, something he loved, was that it was constantly improving. As he could train his body, he could train this force to become more responsive and, over time, his supply began to grow. As he wondered what on earth this force was, he noticed that, though his caretakers, people he felt rather looked uncomprehendingly at him as he manipulated it, when he did it outside ninja stared at him, and some asked him what his name was. He was not antisocial, but enough that he eventually decided to do it indoors only, though he preferred the outdoors. Yes, he responded calmly. He didn't know why the Hokage saw him once every 6 months. He was the only kid whom the Hokage personally requested to see, but the Hokage never asked or told him anything important. He just asked him how his life was going, whether he needed anything, and if he had any questions. Well, for once, that might come in handy. After all, knew that you had to be a strong ninja to be the Kage, and when he had become aware of the force, he had seen an immense amount in the Hokage. So, who better to about than the Hokage himself? Naruto looked up at the woman guiding him to the Hokage tower. He knew the way there already, but he supposed it was for the best that someone guide him, who knows? People might think when a little kid walked through the ninja district by himself. The women seemed uncomfortable walking through this district, but Naruto had no idea quite preferred this district to the residential one. Rather than banks, grocery markets, or clothing shops, this district was full of awesome shops. Sure, there were clothing here too, but they had elegant ninja garb and cool ninja supplies. Naruto also loved the specialty shops. There were shops catering to certain ninjas, for lack of a better fetishes. All kinds of shops selling strange and unique food or highly irregular clothing or weapons were available. There was also the ninja supply store, which had all kind kunai, cloth, survival tools, tutorial books. Naruto drew his thoughts away from those things and focused on the people around him. Ninjas were very interesting people. They seemed to get stranger as they got old. Young genin wore normal-looking clothes, talked in groups about things, at least when Naruto could hear them, that normal kids would, and walked normally. Chunin were standard ninja clothing and colors, walked almost exclusively in groups of 3, and talked almost exclusively about ninja things. They were the most boring. The Junin the most fun to walk near. They wore strange clothing, talked about a myriad of things, walked with an adeptness that seemed unnatural, and often had strange behaviors. Mannerisms. He observed as one Junin was chased around the rooftops by one of his comrades, laughing. Suddenly a ball rolled up to him. Naruto picked it up and looked around for the owner. It was a silver-haired man with a face mask covering all but one eye. He seemed to be Junin, though the force in this one felt exceptionally large. The man said, "Here, kid, mind throwing it to me?" Naruto watched as several ninja behind him, clearly walking with him, seemed upset at the holdup. "Yeah, sure," Naruto said. Naruto decided to use one of his cool force tricks where he pretended to throw the ball lightly, but user force to push the ball away from his hand, making an innocent T. Fast as a throw. As he did this, the Junin caught the ball, but his eye looked surprised at the stunt. "Hey, kid, what's your name?" he asked. Naruto's caretaker responded before Naruto could, saying, "I'm sorry if he caused you any trouble, but we must be going, we're late for an appointment with the Hokage." "Sorry. No problem," the man said unfazed. "See you later, kid." But Kakashi, though it may have seemed like an offhand comment, was going to carry through on that stat. He would find this boy later and talk to him. It was nigh impossible for a boy his age to use chakra, at least, not unless he was trained. And Kakashi had never heard of him. Naruto just nodded and walked off, reminding himself that ninja could feel this force as well. Damn, he really needed to figure out what it was called. The Sandaime Hokage, for my sake, Sarutobi from now on, smiled as Naruto was brought in. "Hello, Naruto-kun," Sarutobi said, "and you may leave, I completely, 100%, made up. I don't even know the rules for naming, but this seems like one of maybe 2 things. Definitely needs to sound Japanese. Can anyone help with that?" "Hello, Sarutobi-san," Naruto answered. "Thank you, Hokage-san," Aya replied as she bowed out. "Well, Naruto-kun, you know the drill by now. Says anything new?" Sarutobi asked. Though he chuckled as he said this, he was really hoping Naruto would say something. "Actually, Sarutobi-san, I have a question I want to ask you," Naruto said slowly. Sarutobi focused. This is new, he thought. "Okay. Naruto-kun, shoot. What is this?" Naruto asked while channeling his chakra around his body, hoping Sarutobi would see it. Well, Sarutobi did see it, and he had hundreds of emotions, all of them positive. Sure, it was shocking that the boy could sense his own chakra at his age, especially with guidance, and in any child this would be considered a sign that he was a prodigy. However, Sarutobi just could not force himself to be as surprised as he should have been. Save him and Jiraiya knew that Naruto's parents were the Yondaime Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki, both of them exceptional ninjas. Naturally, his origins had to be secret. With the Yondaime dead from having killed the Kyuubi, and his mother having died during childbirth, no one could protect him from the enemies his father had amassed, especially when his mother's clan was now almost completely wiped out. Sure, he could have made it public and had the clans fight over the boy, but the Yondai. His wife had kept it a secret so well, it seemed to make so much more sense to just leave the boy in the hands of the orphanage rather than start a civil war over a Marialtha. Mere was an inappropriate word, considering what he was witnessing. Going back to Naruto, Sarutobi realized that, in addition to his exceptional control, Naruto had more chakra than any genin, and, while not yet at Chunin capacity, it was T-close for someone so young, small, and untrained. Sarutobi pulled out his legendary professor knowledge. That, Naruto-kun, he began, is what we ninja call chakra. It is a combination of both our life force and our mental capacity, bound to a form that can influence the world around us. It is a powerful force, both for hurting and healing. It forms the basis for jutsu, which we ninja use for many purposes, mainly for fighting. Chakra can be attuned, different elements, or left in its raw form, though you will learn about this later, as you begin your ninja training. What you need to know is that, though nobody else you're likely to be able to use chakra yet, it is necessary for most any ninja to learn how to form and control it. Sounds good to me, Naruto said. Oh, yes, and one more thing, Naruto-kun. It seems a shame to force you to spend a whole 2 years without being able to get some guidance, but you are too young to be properly tutored. But I will give you these scrolls on the basis of taijutsu, basic ninjutsu, and knowledge covered in the academy for you to look at, Sarutobi said as he pulled several scrolls out of his desk and handed them to Naruto, who held out his hands with some excitement. That simple response to this gift made Sarutobi feel like his desis was wise. It was a risk allowing someone so young to study on things more advanced than usual. He had seen good students go bad, but seeing the boy who rarely expressed emotions excited about something warmed his heart. He was sure once Naruto found people like him he would make friends and open up, but until then, he could learn if I suited him. Ah, Minato. If you were here, I'm sure you'd already be making him into a fine ninja. I'm sorry, the best I can do is give him these scrolls. Little did he realize that giving Naruto those scrolls would change the world, by giving Naruto the power to do what he wanted with the world. But that would take a while, wouldn't it? Thank you, Sarutobi-kun. Kun intentional. Naruto is appreciative, Naruto said as he bowed and then bolted out of the room, meeting up with Aya before setting off back. Orphanage. Naruto knew he would love the scroll on ninjutsu, but he didn't realize he would love the ones on taijutsu and the academy knowledge just as much, albeit for different reasons. Naruto had immediately rushed home. Well, as fast as he could with Aya slowing him down. He was excited to be able to study scrolls on ninjutsu, being able to his chakra. Going to be really fun. But his conversation with Sarutobi had introduced another factor into this whole thing. Having shown Sarutobi his chakra, it was now assumed that would go into the ninja academy and, eventually, become a ninja. So he knew he would have to look at the other scrolls in addition to the ninjutsu one. And, wanting to saw best for last, he decided to start with the academy scroll, then taijutsu, then study until the academy on ninjutsu. Although he wondered if the Hokage would give him an A scroll if he finished with these. It was then Naruto realized he had another problem. Naturally, he imagined the ninjutsu would be obvious, perhaps destructive, when used. Unfortunately, leaving the res district would be impossible, and doing it in the residential district even worse. The only option left was in his room in the orphanage. The orphanage was designed to serve ninja raids, so he supposed that he would be unlikely to damage it any more than adult ninja could. The problem was that he didn't want to attract attention, but there was place he could be alone. Orphans lived in rooms of two, for companionship purposes, and Naruto hadn't had much interest in his roommate before. He would have to talk about keeping quiet about the ninjutsu training. Naruto held in his excitement until the caretakers called out bedtime. Naruto walked nonchalantly into his room to find that his roommate was already there. He tried to remember the girl's name. It was Tenten, he believed. Hello, Tenten-kun. I need to talk to you about something, Naruto said, putting on the best smile he could. Yeah, what? Tenten said offhandedly, clearly not interested in her roommate, who had ignored her all the years before. Well, you know what ninja are, right, Tenten? He said. Yes, I see them around sometimes, what about them? She responded. Well, you see, I recently got some scrolls about becoming a ninja, and I wanted to try them out. However, the caretakers would obviously be concerned if they did find OU. Please don't tell them, Naruto said. He suspected she would agree. After all, she had nothing to lose. Sure. But you'll have to do me a favor then, Tenten answered, surprising Naruto. Naruto gestured for her to continue. You see, I've been stocking up on some ninja equipment myself, she began, while pulling out a box full of old kunai knives, senbon, and some daggers from under her bed. The caretakers would never let me ha these kunai if they knew about them, but I've been wanting to practice with them for a while now. So, I won't tell them if you don't tell them when I start throwing these Okay. She asked, a bit nervous about having shown her secret stash of weapons to someone. She didn't want to lose them. Now, Naruto could understand people, especially children. They were all so simple. He knew that she would ordinarily not show anyone those weapons, but his natural cha had opened her up enough to reveal them. A worthy tactical advantage, if he did say so himself. If the caretakers found out about the weapons, the caretakers would not let her keep them, but likely throw her out too. After all, kids weren't even allowed to bring ceramic bowls up to their rooms for fear that they would shatter them and pieces as weapons. Sure, it was an irrational thought, but these were orphans, so you never knew when one would snap. Naruto shook his head, focusing again. Now that he would get in trouble for the weapons if they were ever found, at least he would if they figured out he knew, since unlike ninjutsu, there would be solid evidence of existence, such as holes in the wall and metal chips on the floor once the kunai wore out completely. He also knew that, even if he refused, he now had a weapon against T. He could not have to deal with the weapons and practice at the same time, with no fear of Tenten telling. But, making an enemy of a roommate he would have for two more didn't sound appealing. Fine, I won't tell if you won't. I'll be up for a couple more hours reading, so don't turn off the lights. Naruto said coolly, having lost interest in the conversation once he thought he had an advantage in information over this Tenten girl. It didn't matter how mean he was, she could no longer squeal on him. Tenten nodded and climbed into bed. She wanted to try out the weapons, but it had been a long day and she was tired. Trying out weapons could wait until tomorrow, as she passed out like the log that all tired. The next day he woke up and went through the same routine as always. He got up, brushed his teeth, showered, ate some food. Well, the food was unusual. Usually they stocked these cheap and healthy meals that contained everything vital to survival and growth, but were rather bland and tasteless. Today they served a more delicious Didn't know why. Then they went through the scheduled lesson. This whole month had been about managing your money properly, before declaring free time for the rest of day. Dinner would be served in a couple hours, then bedtime. However, this time they once again warned everyone not to leave the residential district under any conditions. Naruto decided he would go running. He would have to if he wanted more chakra. As he ran, he heard the sounds of a celebration. He continued to run until he came to the street connecting the residential district to the ninja district. Once there, he stopped running and looked into the ninja district to see dancing, music, and drinking. He had been wondering why the residential district had been so empty. It was because today party. It was only once he saw an enormous effigy of a fox being burned down that he remembered. This was the day the Yondaime had killed the Kyuubi, so everyone was partying. He turned away, bored once the riddle was solved, until he noticed a man on the wall between the two districts. Naruto squinted and saw a man with silver hair, a face mask, whom he recognized as the man he had thrown the ball to. Naruto was curious why he was not partying, but not curious enough to ask. He began to run along street away from the celebration, and he turned a corner heading back to the orphanage. He had already been running for 2 hours, it was almost dinner time. As Naruto turned the corner and disappeared, the brooding Kakashi had turned his head in Naruto's direction, and had seen him just as he disappeared. More importantly, noticed Naruto's hair. However, Kakashi was drunk, and seeing the hair only made him sadder. It reminded him of the Yondaime, and therefore of Obito and the other of his who had died. He frowned and drank more liquor. Today was a day for happiness for all but the Yondaime's pupil. Though there was regret for the Yondaime's death. Everyone, Kakashi felt it the most. Kakashi drank another sip, which was apparently the straw that broke the camel's back, as a smile appeared on his face and he fell off wall. Today he was going to reread every Ika book he owned. It was a day for partying. That night, as Tenten threw her kunai against the wall, Naruto studied his taijutsu scroll. The reason Tenten could throw her weapons at all was Naruto. Just before she had thrown her first kunai, an action that would later become second nature to her, Naruto had told her to stop. She had asked why, and he had explained. Tenten, you will surely be caught if you're going to poke holes in our walls, Naruto explained as Tenten nodded. But I have an idea, so don't worry, Naruto had reassured. Sad-looking girl. He had taken 2 kunai and rubbed them together until their tips became dull. He had then taken a pillow and leaned it against the wall, and put a pillow on top of the one, bringing it up to shoulder height. He had then told her, go ahead now Tenten. You won't be able to pierce the pillows, just put them back when done. Tenten had been appreciative, and had not even noticed that Naruto was smiling. You see, Naruto had no competition. In the orphanage, there was not much to compete in, besides races the kids would sometimes do, but Naruto had not had any interests. Physical training, until he learned its uses with chakra. So he had intentionally waited until just as Tenten was about to throw before he explained and solved the problem. He had made this a competition. He had wanted to see if she could see as far ahead as he could. Evidently not, since she had been about to get them both in a bunch of TR. Having won that mental contest, Naruto was happy as he got back to work. Little did he realize that that was only number 2 on his list of ambitions, become a master of chakra, and win. And Naruto was born to fulfill his ambitions, once he got them. Naruto had begun reading the taijutsu scroll. It was boring as hell, but Naruto could care less. It was knowledge that would help him master chakra, since the other scroll said taijutsu used the same resources as chakra, mental and physical strength. Naruto was reading through the scroll when he realized something sad. These were extreme basic kata. There were only 5 stances for him to cycle through, and some tips on how to properly punch, kick, and move while fighting. He was now almost dreading the end scroll. After all, if it was as simple as this scroll he might already know what it taught. However, Naruto knew that, at least for the 6 months until he went back to the Hawk, he would be able to find something to do that would help him with his chakra. After all, the scroll couldn't contain nothing of value, and he could always build on what it taught. He brought himself back to the present and continued reading the scroll before getting on his feet and going through the stances. The book had said to repeat the stances, or 4 times a day for weeks before speeding up all the way, but Naruto felt that such a thing would be stupid. After 2 repeats, his body felt attuned to the movements. Could already go through all the stances at his maximum speed almost flawlessly. He decided that physical training would be important for this too, if he wanted to go fast. The next day repeated the last day, albeit without the good food, a fact that Naruto was a bit unhappy about. Good food was, well, good. However, at night as he opened third and final scroll, he suddenly felt himself being watched. This was a new sensation. For some reason he could feel his actions being watches, he just instinctively knew where, and he could almost make out the shape of this person. How he could do this, he did not know. He turned around slowly to find that Tenten was watching him. Hey, Naruto, what are you doing? She asked. Nothing much. Go back to throwing your kunai, you have gotten much better, Naruto nonchalantly responded. He was exaggerating there. In fact, he had picked up a fun and threw it, only to find that he was already better than she was. However, he saw no reason to tell her this, and training with kunai was something he would be force in the academy soon anyways. He did not want to bother with that yet, not while there was stuff about this fascinating chakra to be learned. Tenten smiled and nodded, doubling her efforts at throwing. Naruto almost laughed. He just could not understand why people listened to him so attentively, but he suppose could hardly hurt. As he went back to his scroll, he opened it and, as soon as he did, found to his bewilderment a small card slipped out and hit the ground. He picked it up. put it back on the scroll, and began reading. The first thing he noticed was that most of these were chakra control techniques, not actual ninjutsu, and that there were only actual ninjutsu, kawirami, henge, and bunshin. Naruto thought that these sounded useful, but he restrained himself and looked back at the top. He would read everything I scroll, then decide on the order. As he read more about leaf balancing and tree walking, he could not help but smile. Chakra was really cool. Naruto knew that he was only a day away from going back to see the Hokage, and he could not help but be impatient. Everything in that scroll was too simple. He had the chakra control exercises, he was able to water walk while floating leaves now, he could perform the 3 ninjutsu, the taijutsu scroll was laughable, and he had memo. The academy scroll on his second reading of it. In fact, only a couple of interesting things had happened. For one, he had gotten into the habit of throwing Tenten's kunai W. She fell asleep, since he figured it was the least she could unknowingly do for him keeping her secret. He kind of enjoyed throwing 2 at once from both ends and getting to hit each other and then both hit the pillow. Sure, after they hit each other he had trouble predicting their trajectory, but he had gotten much better very quickly, though. Only comparison for speed was Tenten. He could not help but wonder if she was slow. It was a mean thought, but he picked up on this stuff so much faster than she did. More importantly, Naruto had discovered something that he did not even realize the importance of. Chakra was so simple for him, so easy to understand, that after he had practiced the ninjutsu for a while, he began being able to do them without had seals. After all, the seal regulated the way his chakra moved, and Naruto could feel, almost the way his chakra moved through his body. He found the seals to be unnecessary, though it sometimes helped when he was trying to do 2 really quickly after each. Since sometimes chakra from one would leak over into the other without hand seals, though this had improved along with his hand seals. The scroll did not mention anything doing jutsu without seals, but Naruto supposed it must be normal, though tomorrow would be the perfect opportunity to ask the Hokage about it. He was also hoping to GE new scrolls, since these had not lasted long. He climbed into bed and willed himself to sleep, eventually succeeding only after he stopped trying so hard. His final thoughts, falling asleep, were, I wonder if my parents were ninja too, I wonder what they were like. During the day, he found that he could care less about who his parents were. Sad fact he was an orphan, but life wasn't bad, and he was positive that knowing his parents wouldn't change anything, though it might make his life more complicated. Would ponder it more, but a night of dreamless sleep awaited him, but he thought it was normal. Okay, I'm going to point out some stuff about the story here. I would have done it in the story, but Pickle pointed out that it was annoying, and though I hadn't not I read it, I also wrote those noted to begin with. Thanks for the constructive criticism, and let me know if there's anything else I need to fix. Speaking of fixing, I still need. Though I suppose I can do without. Naruto has enormous stamina. I mean, the seal was designed to slowly feed chakra into Naruto, so for him to be a tank so early, he had to have something there to begin. Not godlike, but more than the norm. Except maybe Tenten, who doesn't care about ninjutsu, though he is far better than her with weapons, if that tells you anything. I also like that they burned the Kyuubi. I just feel like it's ironic, since that would never work against the real deal. They should have put the effigy in a storage scroll, since T would have been more realistic. Finally, Naruto will be an all-around ninja. He may eventually learn Genjutsu and Fuinjutsu. Review if you have an opinion on it. He is a genius, but he has trouble making care except when he gets a goal. Since he's fascinated by chakra, he's quickly progressing through anything to help him get better with chakra. Later, when he gets new G, he'll get better at those faster too. The main conflict here is that Naruto has no real interest for friends or Konoha, only chakra and competition. What will this mean later? Naruto went through the same routine as always, except now he tried to mix things up sometimes. He tried using Kawirami to swap with a towel in the bathroom, and he used henge to make himself slightly different, just small changes. Of course, He dropped these before walking outside his room as they were pointless, but he was always fastened. The chakra, before always so free and flowing, would suddenly solidify into a structure of his choosing, in a density of his design. He liked how it looked, he felt like he cool. The change the henge made on him and the chakra the henge used itself at the same time, it was a strange, but good, feeling. He went downstairs and ate, and waited for Aya to come and take him to the Hokage. She arrived, wearing a face that seemed too cheerful and bothered Naruto. He felt should keep her good fortune to herself, and get him on his way to see his. They went through the residential district as always, though he did notice that more and more were opening. The village really was doing well. They continued to walk until they reached the ninja district. From there Naruto started really paying attention, though he being stagnated in his quest for information by Aya, who seemed to wish nothing better than to walk back to the residential district and let Naruto go by himself. But she remained firm in her task and guided Naruto to the Hokage Tower. Before they got there, Naruto saw something which truly fascinated him. A woman and man were arguing. They seemed to be high chunin level, though Naruto had learned that the amount of chakra someone had did not determine their rank. It took me weeks to learn the technique, but I did. The girl bragged to her comrade. No way. That's an A-rank technique, how would you learn it? The man scoffed. I'll prove it to you then. The girl said, making Naruto stop and stare. Aya turned around to look at Naruto, then turned to see what he was staring at. She then seemed impatient and told Naruto sternly, come on, don't bother them. They their own things to do and we have ours. Naruto then smiled sweetly and pleaded, please, Aya-san, just one more second. Aya had rarely seen Naruto so passionate about something, so she turned to the two ninja and waited for whatever they were doing to be over so they could leave, deciding to reject Naruto's request when he so rarely made one. The female ninja began making hand seals, which Naruto subconsciously memorized. But that was not what he was looking at, it was her chakra, how it moved and flowed. It was mesmerizing. Finally, she yelled, water dragon. A tiny dragon came out, composed only of the water she had been carrying with her in a bottle. Naruto nearly balked. She had put it too much chakra for it all to be waste. However, ignoring her mistakes, he watched as the dragon twisted and turned as her chakra did, until she cut off the chakra flow, further wasting the chakra connecting dragon to her. Naruto felt that she could have tried to take back what had not been used, or at least let the connecting chakra flow into the dragon, to give it just a few seconds of life. Oh well, he supposed there was a reason for this. The male ninja whistled and said, not bad. It was pretty weak, but that's a neat trick. The female ninja smiled and said, yeah, I know. And kept walking. Aya had been wide-eyed as the dragon moved, but once it was gone, pushed Naruto onwards. Come on, Naruto-kun, we will be late if you keep standing there, she said. Naruto relented and continued moving, but he was quietly and slowly forming the seals he had seen the woman use, while molding the chakra inside his body, doing his mimic hers, but without the wasteful gestures. They were just outside the Hokage Tower when he finally decided to let the chakra out. He had long since realized that name of the jutsu was useless, letting your opponent realize what you were doing even if he couldn't see you. It was just a way to psyche yourself up for the sudden relaya. Chakra. Same as focusing would. He let the chakra he had molded out of his body, and saw to his delight that water around him began to form a dragon in front of him. Still walking resolutely ahead, glad to be so near her destination, not even noticing the dragon forming behind her. This dragon had much less water than the female ninjas had, but it quickly became far larger, the size of Naruto in height, and much longer. Ninja turned around to look. Guess this little boy performed a jutsu he should not know and could not do. Naruto, in his defense, had overestimated the amount of chakra required from having watched the had intended for it to be much smaller. In addition, he would have cancelled it sooner, but this was his first elemental jutsu, and he was fascinated by the chakra, swirling and moving along with the dragon in front of him. He completely lost focus. The dragon roared, and three things happened at once. Aya yelled and ran forward, unsure what had made the ghastly noise. She turned and saw Naruto with a dragon made of water in front of him, and did not know what to th. Naruto, for his part, quickly jolted back to reality and let go of the chakra, but he made a mistake, letting the chakra connecting him and the dragon continue to enter the dragon. Usually a good idea, and one requiring enormous skill, but not when trying to end a jutsu as fast as possible. Ninja all around, who had originally another ninja wa. Showing off his proficiency in a jutsu all turned to face Naruto as they heard the dragon roar, all of them on edge. They all saw Naruto cancel the chakra, as the dragon let final roar before dissolving. The crowd of ninja began murmuring, staring, and pointing at Naruto, most of them in disbelief, others assuming it was a joke. One silver-haired man with a face mask Naruto recognized. Naruto knew now that he was an Anbu, quickly shoved them inside the Hokage tower, following them indoors. What he had just seen had to be acted upon. Naruto and Aya entered the Hokage's office, and Aya was waved out, much to her relief. She was frightened stiff, and was still unsure of what had happened. The Hokage, had looked out his window when he heard the commotion going on beneath the Hokage tower, but did not know what had caused the ruckus. He figured someone else would fix it. Kakashi had walked in with Aya and Naruto, and now stood behind Naruto, while waiting for the Hokage to speak. Hello Naruto, it is great to see you. I'll get to you in 1 second, let me just speak to Kakashi for a moment, the Hokage said kindly, while beckoning for Kakashi to come. Naruto just shrugged and walked to the chair, to sit and think about what had just happened. He knew a couple of things were off. How had he done something so easily? Chunin had had so much trouble. Was his dragon somehow inferior? It had felt the same. No, it had felt stronger. He continued to brood over this while Kakashi walked to the Hokage, and waited for him to speak. What's wrong, Kakashi? Is it about what is happening outside? The Hokage whispered, though Naruto could easily hear him. He had gotten into the habit of constantly chakra into his eyes, ears, and nose, having long since realized that it made the world sharper. He no longer felt the drain on his reserves, his diligent exercising having his reserves astronomically. Yes, Hokage-san. You see, this boy, he used a water dragon jutsu, perhaps, more importantly, I believe he used it only minutes after watching another ninja perform it. This possible? Kakashi whispered, anxiously awaiting the answer. Sarutobi sat silently for a few moments, thinking it over. He did not doubt Kakashi's word, but he knew he had given Naruto only the most basic of ninjutsu scrolls. Was it for him to perform such a high-level jutsu by mimicry alone? Come here, Naruto-kun, he said, and waited for Naruto to get up and face him attentively. Sarutobi continued, Naruto-kun, how have you been doing on the scrolls, and you describe for me what happened outside. Sarutobi-san, the scrolls you provided were very simple, and I had them completed months ago. I was going to ask if I might get a more advanced scroll. As for what happened outside, I believe the ninja overreacted. A woman performed a jutsu she called Water Dragon Jutsu, and I merely did the same thing. However, when I did, people began making noise. I fear I have done something wrong, as mine was different than hers, and hers did not concern any ninja so much. In addition, the jutsu is, apparently, difficult. So, perhaps skipping steps and imitating her has caused the jutsu to become flawed. Naruto reasoned out, still wondering why the people had been so noisy. Had done the same thing the woman had. For his part, Sarutobi was shocked. To have done what took many ninjas so long, and to have such a natural grasp for ninjutsu, put him on par with the Uchiha. And he was working without the Sharingan, and without the tutoring Itachi had received. Such proficiency put Naruto at prodigy levels, and Sarutobi was not sure what to do. Naruto-kun, I will get back to you right away about what can be done about your education, and I assure you that you have done nothing wrong. The ninja outside were surprised, and ninja take surprises very poorly, but for now, Would you mind waiting outside while I speak to Kakashi? The Hokage said, almost laughing, putting up a front. Clear any worry from Naruto's mind. Naruto detected the ruse, but shrugged it off, knowing that the Hokage had the right to tell him anything he wanted at his discretion. Was a child, Sarutobi a cage? Naruto left the room, and Kakashi and Sarutobi began talking quickly. Kakashi, I see now that Naruto-kun is proceeding far beyond my expectations. He is going at the rate Itachi is, but with only basic scrolls for guidance, Sarutobi explained. Kakashi thought for a second and said, well, we must surely do something to help him flourish. Does he have any living relatives at all? Anyone who may stake a claim to? Or is he completely under the control of the village? Sarutobi pondered the question. If anyone could be told Naruto was the Yondaime's son, it would be Kakashi. But Kakashi would surely be angry at the Hokage for hiding I. Though perhaps Kakashi would understand. Perhaps Kakashi would realize that he, as the Hokage, had made the best decision he could under the circumstances. And right, he really needed advice about what to do. He was an old man. And he had become hardened in his belief, unable to respond to this new situation. He finally, perhaps selfish, decided to get Kakashi's help on this matter. Kakashi, he has no relatives. He was the Yondaime's son, and please hold your responses for later, perhaps after we decide what to do with Naruto. Just know that giving Namikaze name would only give him enemies and trouble, or so I thought. That Naruto is a prodigy is not, perhaps, as surprising as is the fact that he has been under radar for so long. We must decide what to do. Should his lineage be announced, despite the trouble it would cause? Minato did not have much to speak of, and what assets have already been sanctioned to the village itself. Giving Naruto the Namikaze name would only cause trouble, and would not give Naruto much, though a powerful claw. Adopt him. But in the worst case scenario, an agreement would not be reached. Naruto would remain without any single clan agreeing to any other clan to have guardians, and he would be left only with enemies. But without the title of Namikaze, how can we give Naruto the training he deserves? He does not have a clan to back him up, as Th. Uchiha did, and I am afraid that I cannot pull rank and take him under my belt, as Minato did for you. I am too old, and too tired. What should we do, Kakashi? Sarutobi sallying all of the concerns on his mind out there. Kakashi took all of this at once, and his mind had trouble sorting it all out. The first thing to register was that his sensei had a son. A legacy, a link to the living world, a.s. Also knew that the Hokage had lied to him, but he shut these thoughts out immediately. What good would it do him to be angry now? He processed everything the Hokage. And finally came up with an idea. Hokage-san, who else knows of Naruto's father? Kakashi asked. Only me, Jiraiya, and now you, Kakashi, Sarutobi said, hoping Kakashi had an idea. Kakashi thought about Jiraiya. He was shocked that he had abandoned Minato's son, but he supposed that Jiraiya had other things to do, and Kakashi felt heartened that someone else had been hit as hard as he had by Minato's death. Though that thought was a bit twisted, he could not deny that misery loves company. He realized that Jiraiya could only help Naruto. For now he was not even part of the equation, but if he later wanted to train Naruto, then that would be all the better. For now, Kakashi realized he chanced to get guardianship of Naruto, his sensei's only child, and also out of the slump he felt he'd been in for some time. Kakashi took up an earnest face, and told the listening Hokage his plan. Hokage-san, I have grown tired of Anbu. I realize it is an honor for any ninja to be selected as the captain of a squad, but I simply cannot do it. The pain that my father must surely have felt before he died, is what I feel I am beginning to experience. The Hokage blan. At this, it had been a huge shock when Kakashi's legendary father had committed suicide, and for Kakashi to be pulling out a card like that meant that this was really impo. To Kakashi. He gestured for Kakashi to continue. Well, knowing that, I'd like to resign from the Anbu. I will still take missions as a Junin, but I can no longer effectively handle the strain of Anbu life. And it is here that N comes into play. As a new Junin, I have a 5-year period before it becomes necessary that I officially take an apprentice or a genin squad. It is during these 5 years will take guardianship of Naruto. Call it an adoption if you must, but for now, no one knows about Naruto's genius. It would be easy to pass it off as a favor to the orphana. Have money to spare to feed Naruto and it would put him in better care than he must be getting at the orphanage. Once I am his legal guardian, I can train him making a formal request to the council, and by the time my 5 years are up, he'll be 10 years old, right? Plenty old enough to become an apprentice, right, Hokage? Kakashi finished his speech with a genuine smile on his face, hoping the Hokage wouldn't refuse. The Hokage thought about this. It was indeed a good idea. There was no action in any of Kakashi's plan that would require council approval, and it could all be done without garnering any attention. His only concern was Kakashi's fathering abilities. After all, he had barely had a real father of his own, and Sarutobi recognized that Kakashi had called Naruto his son. He could not call his sensei's child his own, perhaps his godson, but Kakashi did not wish to take the place of Minato. Sarutobi sighed. The plan was than anything he had come up with, and perhaps being around someone like Kakashi would warm Naruto up, who remained rather unattached to people. Kakashi, we will ask Naruto only one question. How would you like to get a sensei to teach you? We will not tell him he is being adopted, who his father is, or any of the circumstances regarding his situation. He may figure it out on his own, but we will keep it simple for him for now. Does he want a sensei? Sarutobi said, while calling his secretary to send Naruto back in. Naruto walked in, holding a small ball of water in his hands. Both Kakashi and Sarutobi noticed that it did not touch his hands, only floated between them. Apparently, Nar combined the water creation portion of the water dragon jutsu with the concept of water walking to allow him to hold water as if solid. Naruto looked at the two men, chuckling nervously. Sarutobi and Kakashi were confused by the reaction, until they realized that Naruto had nowhere to put the water he was holding. The situation almost them both laugh, especially having come after such a grim conversation. Sarutobi said, just drop it, Naruto, you will find this room will absorb it immediately. Naruto did as told, and found to his surprise that it was true, the water vanished as the floor. He was going to inspect the floor when he realized he was being watched, the ability to sense people's stares having become second nature to him, and looked at two men. Sarutobi asked suddenly, Naruto, would you like a sensei to teach you more about being a ninja? Naruto didn't hesitate. He nodded and said, yes, please, Hokage-san. This immediate reaction surprised Kakashi and Sarutobi, but the truth was Naruto had been thinking outside the door about the only feasible ways he would be taught, and long since considered that a sensei might teach him, an agreeable situation for Naruto. Kakashi's visible eye curved upwards happily as he held out his hand to Naruto. Hello, Naruto-kun, my name is Kakashi, and I will be your sensei. Kakashi said cheerily. Naruto shook his hand and replied, Naruto Uzumaki, it's great to meet you Kakashi-san. The reply held more than a little enthusiasm, which both men picked up on and happy about. Pack your bags Naruto, I'll show you where to go, Kakashi said, already leading Naruto out of the room. Naruto simply nodded, but he had a perk to his step, knowing he get guidance from an Anbu operative. In fact, he would have to ask about that later. He had never heard of an Anbu being a sensei. But these were problems for another day. And as he happily followed Kakashi back to the orphanage, the Hokage sighed peacefully. Minato, your son has the same face you had when you were happy. I hope he'll grow up to love this village as much as you did, the Hokage said, with some mirth, before turning angrily to his feared enemy, paperwork. And while, perhaps, his last request was too much to hope for, Naruto certainly had nothing bad to say about Konoha. And hopefully, would not have anything bad to say while yet Naruto walked behind Kakashi as they continued to walk towards Kakashi's apartment. Naruto was looking around. curious about how ninjas lived, but he was surprised saw that it was almost exactly the same as civilian apartments. In fact, the only real difference was that the apartments were smaller. Naruto supposed ninja must spend time at home than most civilians, but he was still surprised that ninja were not accommodated better. However, he shrugged it off. It really wouldn't matter for Naruto, he here to learn, not live, though it seemed the two went together in this case. Naruto looked up at a particularly tall apartment complex, just as Kakashi turned to enter it. Come on, Naruto, this way, Kakashi said, gesturing Naruto to head inside. Naruto just shrugged and complied, walking in and then following Kakashi up the stairs. Though perhaps dingier than the apartments in the residential district, were clean and prim. It was all colored the same indistinct pale white color, and Naruto could see that, despite age, the building had been well maintained. Kakashi opened the door to his apartment and guided him in. Naruto was surprised, though he didn't express it. This apartment had almost nothing in it of sentimental meaning. It had a bed, a kitchen, and that was about it, except a picture on a dresser, though Naruto couldn't make out the faces. It felt like a hotel room, as if it was ready for the next owners to move in. However, Naruto shoved these thoughts from his mind and focused, turning towards Kakashi and waiting for him to say something. Well, Naruto, I know it isn't much, but I'm gone for long periods of time, so I don't really do anything here but eat and sleep. Kakashi said, chuckling. Naruto nodded. He respect that. Kakashi was focused on his goals, whatever they may be, and did not care for petty aesthetics in his apartment, an attitude Naruto reminded himself to adopt. His new sensei. After all, such things were not subjects to be studied or contests to be won, it held no purpose. Kakashi, where will I sleep and when shall we begin training? Naruto asked, not beating around the bush. Kakashi could not help but be surprised. He had expected for a orphan to be curious about his new home and father, but Naruto was getting straight to business. This was where he slept, and Kakashi was his sensei. Well, Naruto, I'll go and pick up a futon for you to use tonight. For now, get used to the place, and make yourself something to eat. Training will begin tomorrow, though won't get serious until I test you. Wait. Do you know how to make any dishes? Kakashi suddenly asked, surprising Naruto. He thought about it and almost felt like hitting himself in the face. Of all the useless things they taught there, preparing food was taught almost near the end, and Naruto had left before they had even begun. Naruto adopted his best embarrassment pose, one he had not used often in the past, and put one hand behind his head and said, no, I hadn't learned it yet. Will that be, sensei? Kakashi frowned, invisibly, for a moment before his visible eye curved upwards in a smile. Kakashi said, to be honest, Naruto, I only know how to warm up foods, I usually buy what I need from shops. What do you say we go out to eat tonight, and I'll buy a cookbook along with a futon for us to learn from later. Naruto, deciding that cooking would have practical survival purposes, agreed and waited behind Kakashi, prepared to leave to go out to eat whenever he was. Kakashi's EY again curved upwards once again before saying, let's go then. And teleporting out, in what Naruto recognized as a shunshin. For a moment, Naruto could not help but be surprised. Then, he became angry, realizing his sensei, in what must have been a joke, had left him inside. Well, he would show Kakashi. His natural competitiveness flaring. Desperate not to be shown up, though he knew he was outclassed. He mimicked the hand sign and chakra control he had felt other ninjas use when they teleported. He himself outside, and then released his chakra. And then came a lurching feeling. Naruto began throwing up, eyes still closed. He had no idea where he was. Suddenly he felt a hand on his shoulder and opened his eyes to see Kakashi behind him. First time. It's normal, Naruto, to feel sick the first time you use shunshin. I'd say to wait before eating, but now you must be even hungrier. He said, while helping NTO his feet. Naruto nodded and followed Kakashi, Though ninja in the street were blanching at what had been left behind, both Naruto and Kakashi had forgotten to clean Naruto's bile, and it remained there until a considerate ninja used a small water bullet jutsu to clean it up. Kakashi was surprised. Though Naruto was not used to doing a shunshin, he had perfectly imitated a move Kakashi had used just seconds before, though Kakashi realized was unlikely that it was the first time Naruto had seen a shunshin, it was a very common jutsu. Kakashi decided to focus on the meal, his first meal with his sensei's son. Would focus on the training and questions tomorrow. Besides, it was fun watching the ever-serious Naruto stumble like a drunk man. Though Kakashi was careful to keep a straight face as Naruto struggled against his temporary loss of coordination. Sitting down in an average-looking restaurant, Naruto looked at the menu. Fortunately, his vision had mostly cleared up by now, though he still felt a bit funny. However, learned something important from that last attempt. Unlike a Kawirami, in which the teleport was simply a replacement of him in another object, the shunshin put him in entirely new place in which there had been nothing but air a moment before that gave a strange sensation that Naruto would have to investigate later. Naruto was eating his meal, a meal that bore a close resemblance to the orphanage food. He was having a hard time shaking off the subconscious food preferences he had. Up at the orphanage, Kakashi was also eating, or coming as close as possible without letting food visibly enter his mouth. The food was disappearing and he was getting foo. Naruto could not catch the steps in between. Naruto just assumed he was eating and let it go. They were almost done when three men walked to the table from the bar they had been at before. Though Naruto was unaware, these men were Shikaku, Choza, and Inoue. Naruto continued eating, while Kakashi turned to face the men. Yo, Kakashi calmly said. Hello, Kakashi. What's up with the kid? Inoichi asked, amused. Yeah, Kakashi. You know, if you need drinking buddies, we're always here. Choza said, jokingly. Yes, well, Kakashi started awkwardly, before clearing his throat and continuing. This is Naruto Uzumaki, and I adopted him. Shikaku began to choke, before asking, how can that be? How will you take care of him when you're an Anbu? Besides, why? No offense. Naruto, Shikaku added part out of respect to the boy, who had finished his food and, while appearing uninterested in the conversation, was not making any attempt to disguise the fact that he was listening. Well, you see, the two questions go right along with each other. I'm retiring from Anbu, and repaying a favor I owed to the orphanage by raising this boy during my time from required Junin duties, Kakashi responded. Naruto had no reaction to this, though the three men were surprised. Why, Kakashi? You had such a promising future in Anbu. Inoichi asked, clearly a bit frustrated that a prodigy like Kakashi was retiring so quickly from Anbu service. Come on guys, don't let it bother you. I'll explain more later, okay? For now, I need to get Naruto a futon and get him to bed, he must be tired after all that's happened too. Right, Naruto? Kakashi said while nudging Naruto to get up. Naruto was not tired in the slightest, but understood his function as an excuse, and nodded a thank you. Kakashi before bowing to the three men and leaving with Kakashi already out the door. Can you believe that, you guys? What is this village coming to? And what do you think will happen to that poor kid? Choza asked his friends. I don't know. Though I'm almost concerned enough to bother finding out, Shikaku responded, his friends realizing that such a level of concern was rare in Shikaku. Thou was always looking underneath of the underneath, and his friends rarely knew what he was thinking. After picking up a futon and cookbook, a rather uneventful process, though the shopkeeper was surprised when Kakashi bought a cookbook, and people were surprised too. Young boy with Kakashi. Eventually, they made it back to Kakashi's apartment and entered, where Kakashi threw the futon on the floor, said goodnight, and went to sleep. Looked at the futon and then at himself. He needed a shower before going to bed, and Kakashi had, rather incooperatively, turned out the lights already. Sighing, he had chakra going into his eyes until he could guide himself around. He supposed that if that was the worst of the quirks Kakashi had to bother him with, it wouldn't be so bad. Naruto could not shake off the feeling that it was going to get worse. Naruto woke up the next morning at 8 a.m., the same time he had all those years at the orphanage. Old habits really did die hard. However, he expected Kakashi was out and about. He had noticed that the ninja district was always busy, even when people in the residential district were still asleep. He went through his morning routine, set up the night before, and then went into the kitchen, only to find that there was no food. Naruto frowned and his stomach growled, both of them disappointed. Naruto into Kakashi's room to find that the masked man was still asleep. Naruto nearly groaned. He suspected that Kakashi was a lazy ninja. Rather than press the matter and irritate his sensei by waking him up, Naruto opened up the cookbook and flipped to a random page. Pulling the necessary ingredients out of the refrigerator, he prepared meal. It was as simple as that. Instructions were followed. He didn't see why cooking was hard. Naruto ate and then sat and waited. And waited. And waited. Eventually, Kakashi was not about to wake up. He started meditating. About an hour later, Kakashi woke up and went through his morning routine, only to smell food. He then hustled through his remaining preparations before running to the kitchen and stuffing his face. Naruto stopped meditating and then looked at his sensei expectantly. Yeah, Naruto, this food is great. I thought you couldn't cook. Kakashi said happily. I used the cookbook. When will training begin, sensei? Naruto said, not about to engage in pleasantries. Kakashi finished his meal and then said, right now. Come on, follow me to a training ground. The two walked along the streets, Kakashi waving and saying hi while Naruto followed silently behind, looking straight ahead. Naruto had made a game out of guessing Ran. Would close his eyes and sense the chakra around him and try to guess the ninja ranks of everyone near him. He would then open his eyes and see how well he did. Naruto continued playing until they reached the training field. Once there, Kakashi sat down and motioned for Naruto to follow suit. Naruto swiftly complied. Well, Naruto, since we'll be living together, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Hitaki Kakashi. I like this book. I dislike those who dislike this book, and my goal for the future the sequel to this little book, Kakashi said while holding up his Ika Paradise book. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like chakra and winning. I don't like, well, losing, I suppose. I don't really have any goals for the future, Naruto said. Kakashi though about what Naruto said. He was unhappy that Naruto had no goals and so few things he liked, but he looked at the silver lining. He basically had no dislike. Apathetic was better than sadistic. Alright, Naruto. To get a basic feel for your abilities with chakra, I want you to explain to me how you managed to imitate the water dragon jutsu and the Shunshin, Kaka. Said, finally asking the question that had been on his mind since the morning before. I thought it was the same for everyone else. I really can't describe it. I don't memorize the hand seals, but I see the chakra as it goes through the jutsu. Well, I don't see. Kind of know where it is though. I've thought about what I'm doing before, and there's no word for it. I just know what the chakra is doing, Naruto attempted to explain. Kakashi once again thought. The fact that he didn't see the chakra relieved some of Kakashi's worries. If he had a dojutsu of some kind, it would mean the Hokage lied too. Since neither Minato nor Kushina had one. However, it didn't explain whether Naruto perhaps had a new Kekkei Genkei or something of that kind. Kakashi decided he would. Naruto's blood for it the next time Naruto was hospitalized, though he almost slapped himself for that. It was the first way of training, and Kakashi was already thinking hospitalizing the poor kid. Throughout this, Naruto just stared at Kakashi, as if wondering what he was thinking about. After a while, he noticed that Kakashi had put Ika Paradise on the ground. He was thinking. Naruto decided to look at it. He wanted to know what made it so important to his sensei. By the time Kakashi awoke from his reverie and began to talk again, it was too late. Naruto may not have understood what the book meant now, but he was impressionable. It would be obvious to him later. Ignorant of this, Kakashi decided to get Naruto started. Well, Naruto, how are you in the other aspects of being a ninja? Taijutsu, Genjutsu, or anything else you can think of, Kakashi asked. I know only the basic of Taijutsu, and I know nothing of Genjutsu, Naruto replied. What is it? Ah, Genjutsu is the ninja art of controlling what another person perceives. It is related more closely to ninjutsu than taijutsu. But let's ignore that for now. Let's see how. Sprint in circles around this training field until you can no longer move, Kakashi said, sitting down by a tree and beginning to read. Naruto did as he was told and started to run. Meanwhile, Kakashi read, and read some more. Eventually, he flipped to the final page of the book and sighed happily. Thoroughly enjoyed his reading. He looked up at the sky and saw that it was dark, probably past 8 p.m. Naruto had begun running almost 6 hours before. Kakashi looked around the fringes of the circle looking for Naruto when he felt a large chakra source heading towards him. Kakashi shot up and looked around, only to see that Naruto was running towards him from the opposite end of the circle. Kakashi stared at the boy. He had been running for 6 straight hours and was still letting off that kind of chakra. Hey, Naruto, you feeling okay? Kakashi asked nervously. Yes, sensei, I feel good. In fact, I feel better now, Naruto responded. Kakashi could barely wrap his head around the amount of chakra Naruto had. Junin level, and while not high Junin level, it was definitely not low Junin level. While Narumi'd have trouble developing the mental side of his chakra, the physical side would go up by leaps and bounds. Kakashi then focused on the second part of what Naruto said. Was he feeling better now because he had let most of his chakra out? Perhaps his small chakra pathways had been stretched, and the pressure was now being loosened. Maybe Naruto would feel even better if he just shoved the rest of it out. It would require high chakra control, but Kakashi supposed Naruto could handle it, if he could mock. Water Dragon. You feel better, eh? Well then, try this. Focus your chakra around the tenketsu of your body. Then connect these tenketsu. Put all of the chakra you feel safe putting into tenketsu there, Kakashi advised. Naruto complied then waited. Now then Naruto, just let it go from your body, Kakashi said calmly. The effects were immediate. Blades of grass grew, the earth rose slightly, the water lapped wildly, ice was forming from the water stuck on leaves in the trees, static disca went off in the air, the wind howled, and the temperature went up a few degrees. Kakashi's eyes widened as he tried to figure out what to do. Suddenly, everything stopped. Naruto sat down smiling. You were right, sensei, I feel very relaxed, Naruto said, smiling. Kakashi nodded dumbly and then gestured for Naruto to follow him. He went to the ninja supply store and whispered to the clerk. He was handed a package and Kakashi went home and Naruto diligently followed, though he secretly wanted to complain about the lack of food. He hadn't eaten since breakfast. Once home, Kakashi ripped open the package and took out a deck of cards. However, these cards were all blank. Kakashi took one out and held it in front of Naruto. Last thing for today, Naruto. Channel some chakra into this card, Kakashi said, with no emotion. Naruto, a bit confused, took the card and then said, wait, I got one of these before in a scroll the Hokage gave me. I channeled chakra through it, though it didn't do much. Just try again, Kakashi demanded, not capable of accepting that the result was as Naruto said. Naruto did as told and was unsurprised when the card, upon receive his chakra, began to crackle mildly with electricity before becoming a bit damp. See, Kakashi. It doesn't do much. What does it mean? Naruto asked. Kakashi looked dumbfounded. One might think the absence of a strong affinity would be disheartening, but not so. The fact that his chakra had demonstrated a fairly large natural affinity for all the elements earlier was shocking. The fact that he had controlled elements which he was not even dominantly affinityed towards was far more impressive. Kakashi almost shuddered to think about the potential Naruto had for all the elements, nonetheless lightning and water jutsu. That elements could only be controlled through Kekkei Genkai or affinities was a myth. Chakra did not discriminate between the elements, it controlled all of them equally. Simply that controlling a complex combination of elements, such as wood or ice, was more than humans without the aid of affinities or bloodlines could handle. Any cage C. After pumping out all their chakra at once, make a tree grow a few inches, or make a flower bloom. It was simply that the Shodaime Hokage could do so with minimal effort that made it so amazing. The fact that Naruto, a 5-year-old with underdeveloped chakra, could use the remainder of his large supply of chakra to do something almost as pronounced as that show had an unnatural tendency towards chakra in general. It was astounding. Of course, Kakashi understood that Naruto would never be as proficient in wood as the Shodaime. As someone with a Hyouten bloodline. However, his control over the remaining elements would be superb, and, with proper guidance, he could learn some basic jutsu from wood or ice, or perhaps make his own combination of elements. Of course, this was far easier said than done. Users of these elements was rare, and teachers rarer. But that Naruto had the potential of doing any of this at all at 5 years old, that was amazing. He was certainly not a prodigy in the same way as Itachi, born with godlike reflex, speed, and intelligence. He was a prodigy in that all requirements of being a ninja he was a genius. In chakra capacity, control, reflexes, intelligence, he was not a master. One, but of all. And Kakashi would do whatever it took to get his sensei's son to the peak of his potential. You had an amazing son, sensei, Kakashi thought, with stars in his eyes. It was only when he smelled food that he awoke from his reverie, which he noticed he was having an awful lot of today, and stormed into the kitchen, starving. I got tired of waiting, sensei, Naruto said with a small grin.